Welcome to the Run Lift Mom podcast, where we're talking about running, lifting, and momming, not necessarily in that order. Today, we're going to spend a lot of time squarely in the running and momming category because I am blessed to be joined by Mary Tramazzo. Mary is an Army spouse. She's the mother of two. She is a phenomenal athlete, and if you want to put icing on that cake, she is also a triplet herself. She began that awesome running career competitively in high school at Cannon School in Concord, North Carolina. Then she went on to college to compete at the collegiate level in both track and cross country at the University of Richmond. Post-college, she has focused on the longer distances and currently has her eyes on the marathon distance Olympic trials 2020, possibly 2024. Y'all, I live in the same community as Mary, and she is that girl that will show up to a local 5K and then beat the entire field. I'm talking the boys and everything. Here's the thing though, when I approached her about doing this podcast, that's not what she wanted to talk about. Do you want to know what she wanted to talk about? Finding your tribe, finding your local community in running. So join me as we speak with Mary Tramazzo about finding your tribe of runners locally. All right, we have got Mary Tramazzo on the line. Welcome, Mary, to the Run Lift Mom podcast. You know I've got to dig in first and ask how you were introduced to the sport of running.
So I first started in fifth grade. It was the only sport that was offered for fifth graders at my school, and my mom encouraged me to try it out, and I enjoyed it and just kind of went to a couple practices and meets and things. But really, I first got into it with the first road race I did, which is the Winter Flight 8K in Salisbury, North Carolina.
I don't know if people know we share the same hometown.
Yes. Have you ever run it before?
I have run it actually in high school. And you know what? But here's the thing. I want to say, when was the first year you did it?
1999.
Oh yeah. I was off at college in 1999. So I think I was before your time. So you know what, Mary? I'm going to go ahead and claim that I can't claim that I beat you in a race that you were not at. So anyhow, tell me about Winter Flight.
So it's a fun race. It's different. It's on a Sunday afternoon. It's very family oriented. They've got a kids race. You finish with cheer wine, and they have fun awards. I remember our, at the time, most people just had the cotton t-shirts as the race swag. And for this one, they actually did sweatshirts. Those old school, no hood, thin sweatshirts, and it had a combat snowman on it, and that just that was so cool to me. And so that race, it made an impact on me. It just seemed fun. I was 11 years old and looking for the sports that I was interested in and just kind of unsure what I wanted to commit some more time to, and that just kind of sold me on it.
11 years old. The last guest that I had on this show, we talked a little bit about modeling, right? Like modeling healthy behaviors and introducing kids to sports. And it's really neat for me to hear how your mom encouraged you and how you were able to really, it sounds like, dive right into that local running community as an 11-year-old.
Yes. Yeah. I am very pro local road races, especially for young kids, because it's not too serious. I encourage kids to get involved with the USATF and the AAU and everything. But sometimes that can just be a little too structured, especially with running, where you can just kind of burn out. So yeah, just the occasional fun road race, local race, I think is a great idea for getting kids involved.
So, I'm glad that you mentioned burnout, right? Because when we're trying to introduce kids to sports, and in theory, right, these are activities that could serve them a lifetime. What I hear you saying is if you choose to get involved with the local running community, it keeps it a fun thing to avoid that burnout.
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome. Awesome. That is cool. Okay, so winter flight when you were 11, what do you remember offhand? Any other local running community experiences from your childhood?
I did just kind of the occasional, mostly during the summer, I would do the road races. They had a lot of them right near my house. So you could just kind of hop on over there, run a 5K at 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning and get right back to your weekend. And it just, it was a great community feel, honestly. It just helped me kind of keep it all fun and light.
Now, I said in the intro that you are a triplet yourself.
Yes.
Do your sisters run?
So my older sister does not run. Well, neither of my sisters run. My triplet brother, he actually ran, and throughout high school, he'd run in those races with me, and usually beat me. And he was a little, it was a little irritating. It was very easy for him. He would just kind of cruise on through there, not really practice too much. He's just very, very gifted. But it was great to have him there to kind of do these races with him, and occasionally go run with him. And he is about a foot taller than me. So running with him was not exactly fair, because it'd be about 2 strides for me to every one for him. But it was fun to have a sibling to kind of do all of that with.
Oh, absolutely. That is really cool. Okay, so my storytelling technique is going to be off, but I want to keep this focused on running, right? When I say, all right, you were ingrained in that local running community as an adolescent and with family. Check this out. One thing led to another, and now you're an Army spouse who moves very often as just nature of the lifestyle. Can you talk to me a little bit about your relationship with running now that you are supporting your husband's career and ingrained in new communities every few years?
Yeah, so running, it's helped me in multiple ways. Because we move so often, and for multiple reasons, I'm a stay-at-home mom. So, it's, as the daily life, very repetitive, and lots of little tasks here and there. And sometimes, at the end of the day, you're just kind of like, what did I accomplish today other than keeping my children alive?
I cleaned crumbs off the table, no less. Are your kids on a constant feed all day?
Yeah, yes. So I really, for running for me is what kind of gives me that sense of accomplishment. It may be a 5-mile run. I went out there and I just logged through the miles, but I did it. I feel good about it. Got some vitamin D, got some air in my lungs. But it also, it's a good goal setting thing for me. Gives me something to work for that's just personal.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it gives me a sense of accomplishment. And then the other side of it is it's my one thing that I can use to connect to others in the community. And as we move from place to place, it's an easy way to, find some common ground with someone and just immediately launch into a conversation. Just go to, the first road race I went to here, we had been here for, maybe a month. And immediately I met multiple people that day, that morning at the race. And then, went to the local running store, met them there. And my son is now best friends with their daughter. So it's really, it just opens up a lot of connections, and I feel like most runners have some things in common that kind of lead you to enjoy distance running. So it's been a great way to get to know people in new communities.
Yeah, well, those things in common are things that you touched on when you talked about keeping your identity as a runner in motherhood. So it gives you that sense of accomplishment. It's, that discipline that, like, this is something that it's a task that I have, I'm going to do, I'm going to accomplish it each day. Those are characteristics that runners have in common.
Absolutely.
Mary, I'm putting you on the spot. I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to bring up how we met. we met. So for the listeners, I hit Mary's car in the Target parking lot.
We literally ran into each other.
Literally ran into each other. I mean, look, this is so appropriate for this podcast because that's the mom meeting place. It was mid-morning at Target. And my license plate, I have a vanity plate that alludes to me being a marathoner. And I think before we even exchanged information, we were like, "Are you a runner?" Because you had your running gear on, and I
Oh,
think you had
absolutely.
something on your car. I don't know, and distance, or I don't know.
Uh-huh. Yep.
But yeah, we connected over being runners as well. I like also how you touch on, okay, so if you're in a new place, right? So you as a military spouse, if you're in a new community, it sounds like you had a couple of resources, local races, as well as the local running store. I think a lot of people don't think of that second one as a place they could connect with other runners.
Absolutely. Yes. The first thing I did, honestly, I didn't even go in there to buy shoes. I just went in there and said, "Hey, what running groups are around? When are some local races coming up? Can you give me some ideas of places to run?" And the people that work at these local running stores are just full of information about the running community and are so willing to help give you that information. So they're a great resource whenever you move somewhere new.
Yes. I mean, look, I'm going to plug our local store because I love them. They're a partner for my Zaya business. We've got the Fleet Feet Runner Spot store here in Fayetteville. You guys, if you have a Fleet Feet store in your neighborhood, let me tell you, they do not hire some geek off the street to sell you shoes. These folks are trained. Likely they are runners themselves. They know what they're talking about. It's a wonderful resource. And again, I think a lot of people think of, oh, well, let me Google when a race is happening. But that running store has all of your local running experts in it.
Yeah, absolutely. And they love running. I mean,
Yeah.
they're not trying to sell you stuff. They honestly, they just enjoy talking to you and about running.
Yes.
So yeah, great resource.
Oh, that's wonderful. So you mentioned your son is now friends with that local running store with their daughter. Talk to me, I mean, a family affair, right? So
Yes.
talk to me about how you have made running a family affair.
Yeah, so this past weekend actually was the first time where the kids did a fun run at the same day that I did a race, and it was great because they had the fun run at 1:30, and then my race wasn't until 2, so I was
And this
able to
was
run
Winter
with
Flight,
them.
right?
Yes, yeah, my 20th anniversary return.
Wow.
Um, but so they did the fun run, and we had talked about it beforehand, and there was a little bit of complaining throughout, but they enjoyed it, and you could just see it on their faces when they finished how accomplished they felt. So I love sharing that with my kids. It's something fun the whole family can do. I mean, a half a mile, it takes a couple minutes,
Mm-hmm.
and it's fun for the kids, and great to see how they can accomplish something and feel good about themselves for being active.
Yes. My he was 4 at the time. So my oldest, we did a 1 mile fun run this summer. And I don't know, about a half mile through, I mean, he looked at me and said he was tired, his legs hurt, he didn't want to do it. And I mean, this makes for a great story. I don't know how it came to me, but I said, we have to finish what we start. I understand that you're hurting, but we have to finish what we start. And we did kind of a little run walk thing from there. But even to this day, Mary, like, in other things, not just running, he'll tell his younger siblings, we have to finish what we start. So it's a neat way not only to see them accomplish, like you mentioned, but also to teach them lessons that they can hang on to.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Persistence and, just working through, being uncomfortable, I think was a good takeaway for my two this past weekend.
How, it's interesting because, of course, parenting, as we were growing up, it's changed, right, from how our folks did it. That's kind of old school, Mary. Exposing them to being uncomfortable. Do you
Oh,
care to
yes.
comment on that? I love it.
My parents, I really admired them for how they raised us, and athletics were a huge part of our family growing up. All four kids were very active, and I think athletics are a great way for kids to learn discipline and persistence and working through, pain, working, just sticking with things. So I think, that probably is a little more of an outdated parenting philosophy, but I absolutely stick by that. I think it's a very important way to raise your kids.
It's impressive. It's courageous this day and age. And I agree with you. It's fantastic. So I'm going to do something new that I've never done in this podcast to close it out. Are you so excited about being a guinea pig or what?
Go right ahead.
First, I'm going to hit your car, and then I'm going to do something brand new with you. I'm going to do a rapid fire. So I'm just going to ask you, I want you to say whatever comes to mind. These questions are not necessarily related to one another. I've picked out running questions purposely for you, but I just want you to say exactly what comes to mind. This is either going to be really awesome or we're going to edit it. So here we go. Mary, your rapid fire. Tell me okay, in your lifetime, your favorite running route. Describe it to me.
Let's see. When we lived in Columbia, South Carolina, our neighborhood was kind of across the street from this. It was called Clemson Sandhills Learning Outdoor or something or other. But it was this big piece of property, and it was there was a trail that went all the way around it. It was basically covered in pine needles. It was beautiful. And I did that as often as I could. You just felt like you were off in a forest somewhere instead of in a city.
Oh, that's great. A good way. Running is a great way to connect with nature too.
Absolutely.
Okay. Tell me your biggest race day, hiccup or oops. What's the biggest mistake you've ever made at a race?
Oh gosh. So I was doing the Monument Avenue 10K in Richmond. It was a race I had been training for. I was in graduate school. I was, in peak shape and everything. And I was warming up. I had on zippered pants, the zipper at the bottom, and I had not done the zipper just because, I don't know, but I tripped and fell. And
on your pants?
Yeah, I tripped. Yeah, somehow tripped on the pants themselves and fell hard. So of course, I was bleeding from hands and knees, and I bruised a rib, and it was about half an hour before the race started. So
you didn't run, did you?
I did.
Oh,
yeah, I sucked it up and ran, and it was actually a great race. But yeah, it was a little painful afterwards. So
listen to that, Run Lift Mom listeners. If you want to have a fantastic
zip your pants.
You just need that cognitive need to get to the hospital to motivate you to run. That is great. Mary, you have Fayetteville, you mentioned Columbia. Now you're mentioning outside of Richmond. How many times have you moved in the last decade? Gosh,
I don't know. Got to add upstate New York in there. That was the coldest running environment I've ever lived in. So it was Richmond for college and grad school, and then Charlottesville, Fort Drum, back to Salisbury during a deployment, Columbia, Fayetteville, and then back to Charlottesville this summer. So, wow, just constantly moving.
Yes. But again, the theme of this podcast is running can be something different in different stages of life, and also connect you to like-minded folks.
Absolutely.
So with all that, you've got a history of those moves and those connections. So yes, the proof is in the pudding. All right. So let's say, take it back to 1999. You are 11 years old. You are towing the starting line of the winter flight. What advice would you give to your younger self as she ventures on this journey of running?
Honestly, do it for yourself, which can sound kind of selfish almost at first, but in order for what I have found over the years and running in college and after, it needs to be for yourself, for your mental health, for your sense of accomplishment. It cannot be done for others. You can't let the pressure of performance, put on you by others get to you. It just needs to be, you need to focus on it for yourself.
I love that. I love that. Oh, well, Mary, we are done here. In the intro, I spoke to what an incredible athlete you are. It occurs to me now that the most talented folks are always the most humble as well. You are on my chicken list. I have no business interviewing an athlete at your caliber. And I was like, I have to ask her. I want to share her story. And I'm so glad that you went through what running has become for you, as well as given some insight, into how other folks can connect through running in their communities.
Well, thank you. I appreciate you having me on here. And, I don't feel like I have too many, big ideas or things to say, but I do think running is a wonderful resource. And it just, without it, I wouldn't have met you.
True.
And it is beneficial in so many ways. So I would encourage others to really look into it.
Thank you so much, Mary.
Thank you.
All righty. Real talk. I have no business interviewing an athlete at Mary's caliber. She is, and probably will be forever, the most talented athlete I know in real life. And here's the thing. She said yes to this podcast before I even launched, before I had a listenership at all, because she has made it her business to share running with other mothers, to connect to her community through running, to model healthy behavior to the next generation. She's one of those really awesome, talented folks who is incredibly humble and incredibly generous with her time and talents, especially in the running community. Thank you so much, Mary, for coming on the Run Lift Mom podcast. Until I get into your earpiece again, remember, for while bodily training is of some value, godliness is of value in every way, as it holds promise for the present life and also for the life to come. That's from 1 Timothy 4:8, and this has been the Run Lift Mom podcast. Hey, Run Lift Mom listeners, I'm the mom of 4 kids under age 5, and therefore I am always looking for ways to work smart, not hard. Anchor is the smartest way to make a podcast. Let me tell you why. First of all, there are creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or computer, but Anchor will also distribute your podcast for you, so then it can be heard on places like Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a whole lot more. You can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. It is quite literally everything you need all in one place. And y'all, it's free. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. It's time for the Zaya Active product of the week. And this week it is the Black Pocket Light and Tight Capris. I recently had a customer who got her second pair of these, the exact same pair of pants. Y'all, I saw the order come through and I reached back out to her and said, hey, did you mean to do this? Because I'm pretty sure you already have these leggings. Yes, she did. And here's the reason why. She wanted a second pair of these because when her light and tights are dirty, she doesn't want to have to go back to her Lululemons. Oh, you guys, that made my Zaya heart swell. That's how great these pants are. So if you want to check them out for yourself, just find me on any of the socials, #RunLiftMom. This is the Zaya Active product of the week. Like what you heard? I am just getting started with the Run Lift Mom podcast. And as a newbie podcaster, it is really helpful for me if you subscribe, rate, and review. And to show you just how much I appreciate that, I'm going to be giving away a Zaya Active item of the week every single week during the month of February. I am calling this my Galentine's celebration, and here's how it works. If you have left a review, you are already in the drawing. If you haven't left a review, I would appreciate your honest words. So go ahead and leave a review, and then every single week I'm going to be doing a drawing for that item of the week. Get excited. I'm new. Your odds are good. I want you to experience Zaya as well as the knowledge our great guests are giving us about running, lifting, and momming.